Hello makers and creators, it is Erin here and welcome to my Wildlight channel. I am always telling people that these Caran D'ache water soluble wax crayons are one of my all-time favourite art supplies. And I'm always recommending people to buy them, to give them a go. When I do a workshop, I give people one of these so that they can take them home and really get to know them, because I just think that they are just so fluid and vivid and all the good things and versatile. But people get them and then they're like, oh, well, how do I use them and what can I layer on top of them, because, you know, not all pens work and all this kind of thing. So I'm going to make this little video. I'm going to make a little journal page and show you what I like to do with them, or just some of the ways I like to use them, and some of the other tools, pens, supplies that I use with them and layer over the top of them and that sort of thing. So, and I only have a very small collection. Look, I mean, that's not many. I would love to have more. I would love it, but I seem to be able to do wonders with the selection I've got. I buy them individually. Yeah, so, well, let's do this. Let's start this page and yeah, you can share and see what I do, and hopefully it'll give you some helpful little tips and ideas. All right, let's do this.
I have prepared my double page spread in my journal here. So I've primed the paper with some watered down gesso, and I've sketched in this face with a watercolor pencil. And I like using watercolor pencil because then as you build up and paint the face, you can wash away the lines that you've drawn and change things around. It works really well. This is the collage paper that I'm going to use, and I've ripped it up and I'm sort of strategically placing it down with matte medium, using matte medium to stick it down and putting the matte medium over the top as well. Okay, now it's time for me to choose my Caran D'ache. I'm going to choose three. The Purplish Red, it's called, and the Naples Yellow, and I'm looking for an Indigo Blue. There we are. Okay, now it's time to scribble. Pick the first colour and just start making little patches all over your page, little scribbly patches. These are going to have water added to them later, so they don't need to be perfect at all. We're just laying down patches of colour around the page, or the pages. I'm using all three colours and I'm kind of spacing them out instinctively where I feel they need to go. There's not really much more to it than that. I've picked colours that I feel kind of make each other pop. And this is the fun bit. I'm taking a flat brush in about a size 12 and I'm starting to activate the paint. I've got quite a lot of water on the brush right now, maybe a little bit too much water, so we'll see how it goes. I'll get a tissue, I'll get some kitchen towel and start dabbing at some of that water. This is a pretty rough and ready process for me. I'm not being specific. I'm not gently folding my kitchen towel and wicking the water away. I'm scrunching it up and dabbing around. I'm being pretty loose, pretty free. I literally cannot get over how beautiful these colours look when they're activated with water. They have these gorgeous tide marks and they're just so watery and rich, and they're so easy to spread and to play with. I try to keep the colours to themselves and then just blend the edges of the colours together where different colours meet. So you still get distinct colours. Everything doesn't turn to mud, you know what I mean? But then it's all about where the two colours meet and they create a separate blend, a separate colour of their own. And I love this so much about the Caran D'ache. And I'm very deliberately washing the paint over the edges of the collage papers that I've stuck down, because this is how the papers start to blend in with the picture as a whole. See how I've painted over this butterfly? But I kind of want to keep that, so I'm going to get my kitchen towel and rub the paint away. And you can do that anywhere on your picture. Just rub away where you want the paint, where you want what's underneath the paint to be re-exposed. Isn't this absolutely beautiful? You could almost just leave it like that. But I am going to keep going, and I'm going to start working on her face. I'm going to start filling in some shadows here. I'm going to use a Caran D'ache for this too. This is Salmon. Salmon's a pretty good all-rounder for my base flesh tones, and I'm filling in the cheeks and the shadows on either side of the nose, around the eye. And now I'm going to activate it with water. And I'm doing the fill-in colour with a light lemon yellow. And activating it all with water. Doesn't it just make the most delicious marks? I just keep adding strokes, adding shadows, blending it all in. You know, if I don't like it, I just wash it away with some water and pat it down with a towel, paper towel. I think that Caran D'ache is very forgiving. I think you can be very loose and free and fluid with it, and you can dab bits away and you can add more bits, and yeah, to a certain extent you can really play, and it's very, very forgiving. Okay, moving on, I'm going to get some more depth in the same shadows, in exactly the same places I did the last shadows, but this time I'm going to add a purple. Actually, it's violet. This colour is called Manganese Violet, and I love it. Add more depth of colour to the shadowy areas and blend it in. That's pretty much the formula. Okay, so here's where we're at so far. The paint has dripped and where I lifted the cover of the book, and I love that. And the face is looking pretty ugly, which is normal, and this is where you have to trust the mess. So I've laid down all the kind of base shadowy tones of the face in Caran D'ache. Now I find that the easiest tool to work with on top of the Caran D'ache are pencils. I'm using Prismacolor pencils because they are so soft and buttery and beautiful, and they blend so well, but you wouldn't necessarily have to use Prismacolor, but I find that pencil works very well, as long as you give it time to dry. I'm going to give the face a bit of a break now and move on to the background again because it's dried up nicely. So I'm going to take my primer and just start to bring some white back in. Just here and there, not too much, usually over the edges of where the papers and the colours meet. And this is just part of the building up of layers and adding depth and light into the background. For the hair, I've chosen the same yellow that I've used in the background so that it gives the piece a feeling of continuity. It ties it all together. And I'm also going to incorporate this beautiful raspberry red in there because I want a really fiery strawberry blonde kind of hair colour. This is a graphite pencil and I love using it because it draws on top of paints, on top of the Caran d'Ache, on top of watercolours, on top of everything really, really well, and adds lots of dark tones, and it blends out as well. So it's good for shading. But it can come across very dark if you're not careful. The colour that I'm using on her dress is a fabulous metallic green, Phthalocyanine Green, and it's beautiful, and when it dries it is really rich and shimmery, and oh, it's just wonderful. It's a big favourite when I use it in my workshops. People love it. And then we come back to the background again, and I reintroduce the very same colours. Now that it's dry and the layer of primer that I put over it is dry, then I bring these same Caran d'Ache colours back in. And this is how I build up a background, basically. This is how I build up the layers of the whole piece. And I'm also going to take some of the beautiful green from her dress and find a way to echo that into the background. And that, so that it brings it all together, brings the piece all together. I'm going to put some shading around the outside of her figure just to make her stand out from the background. I'm moving pretty quickly making this piece. I don't want to labour over it. I don't want it to take too long. This is my art journal and I want to move fast and make it full of life and full of colour. The last thing I want to do is get stuck on perfection. I want to add some words to this piece, so I pulled an oracle card from the Sacred Creators Oracle deck, which is one of my absolute favourites, and I pulled the Fearless Expression card, and that is exactly what I'm going to write on my page. I'm using my graphite pencil to sketch it out, and I really want a sketchy look. This is what I like. I'm not an amazing hand writer or calligraphist, and I go for a sketchy, messy, handwritten kind of look. This is one of my all-time favorite things, and it really pops on top of this kind of layered, colorful background, and it is the India ink. I like to use a dip pen to put it on. I just like to use my dip pen. It's such a pleasure to write with. So this awesomely black, deep black India ink, I dip my pen in there and it really stands out from the page. I'm also going to use some of the India ink to darken up the shadowy areas and the dark spaces in the face. Otherwise the face won't pop as much as the writing. And I'm going to introduce these these black spots and small scribble areas into the face and the hair. I've got some acrylic ink here as well, Liquitex acrylic ink, and here this is beautiful to use on top of the Caran D'ache layered background too. These are the things that flow on top of this kind of layered background really easily. They really stand out. They make a really beautiful, strong finish. And seeing as this video is about Caran D'ache and how I use them and what products I like to use with them, but I'm going to go ahead and use some Archival ink as well. Why not use some stamps? They go beautifully on top of Caran D'ache as well. This is a homemade stamp, and I'm just going to use it to put some detail in her dress. And what the heck? Let's use some acrylic gold paint because this is awesome. So a little bit of gold. I'm just going to do a little bit of a border technique. Credit card that I never used, and scrape a little bit on the sides and just wipe it across to give myself a little bit of a shimmery gold border. I mean, I probably don't need to do this, but I just want to show you guys the kinds of materials and supplies that you can use on top of your Caran D'ache, and that they all add to the layering, and you know, you keep building and building basically. Lastly, I am going to use my pencils to add some freckles to her face because her face was just looking a little bit too perfect, and I think that, you know, little things, little touches like freckles, they just give a little bit more personality. So here is the finished piece, Fearless Expression. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you got some great ideas for how you can use your Caran D'ache crayons. Thank you so much for watching.